Hello internet, hello Final Fantasy fans, I'm Jackie Fox, and in today's episode of Appli-Bot Economics, we're going to be talking about some good stuff. I was a bit critical in my first episode of Appli-Bot Economics, let me be fair. For what it's worth, it does actually seem like Appli-Bot only intended for a very limited few to be able to clear that mission. And we'll kind of see how that works out with the Frenzy mission that is coming soon. Now, whether this is going to be clearable by everyone or just a select few within that select few, we'll see. But one of the things that I really want to give Appli-Bot a lot of points for in this, overall, is the wishlist system. So that's what today's video is going to be about. I also want to mention that the Shiva co-op battle is coming, and I'm going to show you some weapons later on, and those weapons I've built up basically for free off of the Ifrit co-op event. It was very helpful for farming these. It was very accessible for farming these, so definitely take advantage of the Shiva co-op when it comes today, actually. It's probably already come by the time you're seeing this video, in fact. So, today we're going to look at banners and the wish list, but first I want to talk about the stamp card. I've pulled on pretty much every banner because of the stamp card to at least finish the first stamp sheet, just like this. Because the real FOMO item in this game is the outfits, and you can get an outfit by the end of the first stamp sheet. Usually I just pick an outfit that I want, and I get any of the weapons on the way. You can also get the second outfit by doing another stamp sheet, which isn't that bad. And then your second weapon by doing a third, which, But this is actually a pretty easy pity system, even though the stamps can be pretty hard to get, so it can take up to, 12 pulls to actually make it to your first piece of gear. But the big positive here is the wish list system in general. This allows me to, most games there's a FOMO of like there's a featured raid or something, or there's a banner and there's some special way of getting the unit a little bit easier. And this is true here too. You will see that banner weapons have featured rates already. You can't even feature them because they're already featured. But you can pick what featured or what weapons you want featured, and those 5 weapons will be featured on every banner that you pull on, in addition to what's on the banner itself. And this means that with proper planning, you can, slowly but surely, as a free-to-play or as anyone, with some proper foresight, build out a set of weapons that you like. You could stop at maybe 2 overbursts or maybe 3, depending on the weapon. The Nameless, for instance, that I got up 5 OB5, that was all just off of dumb luck. And then for things like the Inferno Axe, that was off of the Ifrit co-op, so you can build that too, as well as the Ifrit Sword that is up there at the very top at level 90. I just need a few more levels to finish that bad boy off as well. But you'll see that because I've focused on certain weapons like the Murasame, which is still on my wish list, I'll take that all the way to 10. That is a great weapon. The prototype Crimson Blade, which I wanted for clearing Fire Week content, especially the 3 Shinra soldiers. A lot of things. The Apocalypse is coming in handy, especially now because of its extra abilities. The Motor Drive was one of my early gets because I heard that there weren't many things that could do wind damage. And then there's Upper Shot, which I'm currently using right now, and it looks like I need to actually level up my Tiger Fangs. I ran a little bit short on stuff to level them up, but I seem to have fixed that problem, just barely. For the most part right now, enough to get my Tiger Fangs to level 80, so that'll do for now, but the event will give me more weapons to level them up with, and I am being a little bit thrifty, a little bit stingy with my Mithril, but this is another weapon that I've had on my wish list for a while, because once it's maxed out, it's going to offer a lot of additional lightning damage, and it already offers a lot of additional lightning damage, especially stacked onto a cloud that's already so good at doing bonus lightning damage. So, with all of that being said, this is a system that I wish that more games would get behind, because it's really been helpful for me in intentionally crafting what otherwise, especially with games that begin to get really large pools. I mean, this game kind of started with a large pool of weapons, and it only gets bigger, but slowly but surely. With games that have been around for a couple of years in any sort of a gacha space, need this system more and more as you try to filter through all the chaff. Like, we just need more ways to get bonus rates on things in general, I think, and having a pick 5 bonus rate system is just excellent. I love it. And this is also kind of a bonus to pulling on every banner, even though I pull kind of intermittently. I'm not necessarily pulling for any particular weapon on its banner. I'm just kind of pulling to get this stuff in a lot of ways. I still want more copies of all of these things, so giving them bonus is just something that I enjoy. Also, the lifeguard wraps are one that I'm definitely considering picking up. It's one that I've talked a lot about in building videos, and I'm really thinking about it, but it's kind of in that like 5th slot, and I just don't know if it makes the list. There's definitely other Tifa gear that I would love to build up, and Sephiroth being a newer character, like almost everything that I have for him is based off of the wish list. I wish listed a bunch of items early on, and I just got to pulling and got to getting new stuff for him pretty regularly. So it really allows you to guide the luck of your pulls in a way that, again, I just haven't really experienced very much with other gachas. It could, you could also say that something very similar is happening coincidentally right now in War of the Visions. However, it lacks a few things, notably. For one thing that it's definitely lacking is an actual featured rate up, which is something that War of the Visions has never really done. You do get an opportunity to pity, and you do get bonus shards through things like challenge boards. That's how they generate the FOMO, but there isn't like an additional rate up type thing necessarily. There are ways to pay for rate up by spending premium currencies and stuff, but even on this banner where you can make featured selections, and while you are getting a featured rate here, one thing that I do want you to notice as we go through the drop rates is that everybody else is at just the regular double cost drop rate. There's no real bonus for them at all. It's just a one slot has a slight bonus to get the thing that you want. And so it's like a featured slot. It's not even the whole thing is featured. Every pull is essentially featured. It's just that one. And sure, your rates there might be worth something, and I do think that this is a good event, and I like the way that this works, but there's so many units to be choosing from. Why don't you let me pick my featured unit? We shouldn't have to have a year-end vote to get something like this in this game when it's just kind of being rubbed in my face over here in Ever Crisis. And I think there's probably a lot of other gachas that might feel this way about such a wish listing system. Games, mobile games especially in the gacha space, take note. It feels good to get what you want. So you might be asking yourself, like, what should I be wishlisting? And one of the first things I'd recommend is the Marasame. So I've talked about this in a number of different videos, but a lot of things are weak to lightning. It is just a really powerful piece of lightning equipment. Also, I'm going to point out the healing swords, or healing equipment whenever possible. This isn't big AoE heal, and it is very helpful. Very great for your cloud if you are one of the few people to get this. You could have a healer cloud. And that would actually go really ideally with the new piece of garb for him. However, this isn't necessarily the most popular cloud build. It's not necessarily the one you should go for. He's probably the least liked AoE healer, only because he does other things a lot better. This is a really good sword for wind potency, and it's also just a big non-elemental damage hit, and just a huge hit of physical attack as well. And then if you're looking to break physical defense, we also have the hard edge, which is definitely going to do that, and with a high potency once you get it fully leveled for a total of 33 seconds. Very powerful and crippling blow you would have there. So that is a lot of the power that you can find within Cloud's kit. But also, But also another thing to point out about the way that this game operates is that so far there's not really anything limited other than like garbs and stuff, because this by all means should have been a summer limited sword by the, you know, just what we're used to in other gachas. But here it is. Not only is it not limited, on the next banner or so we can feature it. We can continually featured rate it, just like the lifeguard wraps. I can still feature these and go after them. Barret has a flamethrower that can hurt all enemies, so he's part of an AoE magic damage team, along with that Sephiroth sword that I showed you earlier. The Max Ray has the ability to deal like the rarest sigil damage. That can often be helpful or necessary. This is a non-elemental all enemy damage weapon. Those are kind of rare. You'll see those with Lucia and Sephiroth as well. This is a magic attack decreasing debuff Doom Impact. This is currently really helpful in all of the Halloween event as they are magic attack damage focused. Here's another physical defense breaker. It's not quite as high of well, I mean, that's not its max. So this is a physical defense breaker much like the hard edge, and could be a nice supplement or not supplement, but alternative to it if you don't have the hard edge for Cloud. The Heavy Vulcan is a great option for right now, but I think at this point you have either Lucia or Aerith able to cast a pretty strong mana ward themselves. It's going to be stronger than that, so maybe that weapon's not as helpful at this moment. Moving on to Tifa, though, she's had a lot of good stuff here recently, and again, really do want to do the lifeguard wraps. This is 1 ATB bar smaller than other AoE heals and about 20% less effective as a heal. So you'll get less heal, but you'll also be able to cast it at a regular skill time, not with that additional cost. Compare this to the Fairy Tail. You got 74% healing, but you also have to wait a bit longer to get that off, so it's a little less regular healing. There's definitely benefits to either one, and it's unique that Tifa is the one with the shorter term casting time. Kind of like what I was talking about with Telluric Fury and the Nameless on Sephiroth. Another one I'm using right now is the Tiger Fangs. This is going to break magic attack. Super useful throughout this whole event. One of the reasons I love Tifa, and one of the things that I pulled early on with this system that I'm just not regretting, in addition to the motor drive, which has also been quite helpful in just dealing large amounts of wind damage and also boosting my own wind potency. So even if it's a sub piece of gear, it's doing a lot of help within my teams. The Kaiser Knuckles are the magic defense breakers, so Chi Trap can definitely enable some strong magic DPS teams here, in the same way that stuff like Hard Edge is able to do it, or the Cutlass for Zac is able to do it for physical. She can also do AoE lightning damage that she's going to have in common with both Sephiroth and Aerith here. Now, I've talked a lot about the Sun Umbrella. I really like this. It does have a max potency of mid, unfortunately, so it can only go down to -2 instead of -3. However, that's not bad because it's breaking both stats, and I don't think that we have any other way of breaking both stats right now, so I really enjoy that. Even though it's a little bit slower at either task, it does both at the same time, and maybe that's helpful, or at least more versatile. The Prism Rod is going to be really helpful right now for that wind damage and also for the sea ability break. The Mithril Rod is one that I like, but I don't think I'm going to use it as much. The buff is just a little too short in practice often. The Kuriga on Fairy Tail, though, is really the one that you want, and this is really the thing that makes Aerith the healer in the game, the most primary important healer in the game. Here's the lightning AoE damage for her, also earth AoE damage, so she's one of the few. I think her and Glenn can both do both of those elements, actually. Yes, her and Glenn both have AoE lightning and earth damage. I always get these mixed up, but this one is going to be the Lightning Breaker. So this is a powerful combo with the Murasame. This is your break, and it is going to be, I mean, it's quite a powerful break. It's going to increase to high potency. It starts at mid potency, so it's already stronger than Lightning Breach or Thunder Breach or whatever it was. So it's already an upgrade to that. So any sort of Red 13 Cloud team is really going to benefit from the Seaside Collar. The Sleek Collar is helpful here if you need a mana ward, but again, we have enough event weapons that give us mana wards that you're probably not looking for that option right now. This is a magic defense break, so that's helpful for increasing your DPS. This is interesting. I think this actually potentially has the most healing in some ways, but it's also healing over time. It's you can definitely make that work, and it makes him an interesting AoE healer with the Platinum Collar, but it's a different type of healer in a lot of ways. I'm not really sure how to rank that, but that is a really interesting way to go for AoE healing. The Noble Collar is going to be AoE water damage, first time we're seeing that. Fire damage, nothing special. Cool that he gets a Fire Collar, whatever. Non-elemental damage, okay, sure. Single target heal, okay, sure, not great. And then finally the Junk Collar, which is the Magic Attack Breaker. This is another one that is really helpful right now. Super cool in the event if you have this weapon for him. Next we move on to Zac, and I'm going to skip through a lot of Zac's kit. He hasn't gotten a lot of new stuff, unfortunately. So the two main things. First, you're going to have the Cutlass, which is a physical defense breaker. So he's going to be basically a DPS enabler, and he can enable DPS both in physical, and with the Arc Sword he can also do that in magical. So he's a defense breaker. Kind of reminds me of Auron in a lot of ways. But also he's kind of, you know, he's also a bit of a hybrid in terms of damage himself. So you can deal magic damage, you can deal physical damage, and that makes him a great summoner as well. But that's kind of all his kit has available for him. Like, again, we haven't seen a good new Zac weapon. Neither have we seen a new Glenn weapon, but hopefully one comes in the next week. We get to see the one that was teased. Hardcore Squad is very similar to, I think, the Mithril Rod for Aerith. It's going to be raising all defenses, but for a short period of time. Also similar to Aerith, and kind of weird that this guy has so many offensive similarities to Aerith. He can AoE in Earth and in Lightning. These are going to be in Magic as well, so just part of a AoE, Lightning, or Earth DPS team with Aerith. Single target fire, not super impressive. Lots of people have that, especially with the Ifrit weapons. Hell's Penalty is going to offer that rarest of sigil types, and I heard a lot of people say that Glenn's place really was in cutting through Ifrit with this. And hey, it's rare, but we are getting more and more of it. In fact, we'll show you a weapon for Matt that has this as well coming up soon. Oh, well, here's Matt. So for Matt, the first thing to talk about is the prime number, and for a lot of reasons. This is maybe the best AoE healing weapon in the game. It's gonna show you a Curaga level heal, but that's not the only reason. There's also the boost healing, but also buff and debuff extension time. So this, I think, just kind of puts it over the edge in some ways for me, especially for a unit that can use other buffing abilities. And it's going to make his other buffing abilities really powerful in combination with this weapon. Definitely the first one to get for him, for sure. The Slick Beetle I use on him. A physical attack decrease is often helpful in a lot of difficult content. But in addition to that, it has a big HP boost on it, and I use this often as a sub-weapon just to raise my R abilities and raise my overall HP. This is one of my biggest HP boosting pieces of gear, so it's worth building out. Maybe not worth wishlisting unless you're a big Matt fan, but it's definitely worth building. And then here's the weapon I was talking about earlier that's going to give you that rare sigil break as well. And then this guy is the Core Defender. This is like Sanctuary for Cloud, it's going to give you magic defense barrier for your whole team, and it will fix their magic down debuffs for the whole team as well. So useful in certain places where that's going to happen a lot. Moving on to Lucia, we have the SSR 1976, which has a mana word ability. This is also another one that I'm building because it has good HP and it also has lightning potency. So this is one that I'm building up for Cloud. It's part of a DPS combo. I mean, 48 lightning potency at top. Cool. So the Mad Minute, that's going to be a magic attack decreaser. If you have this, this is a great piece of equipment for the event right now. It definitely helps keep your team safe. The Barn Swallow is going to offer us also that last rarest of sigil types, although, well, I mean, almost every character has a weapon for this now, or at least more than half maybe. So it doesn't seem as rare, but you can't just get it on a materia, so it is still quite rare. At least in comparison to something that everyone can equip. AoE Wind is actually pretty helpful right now and has been helpful throughout this event where everything's weak to wind. Also, I think the only AoE Wind unit that we've talked about, well, we didn't talk about Zac, but he also has that. Also AoE Physical, just like Sephiroth and Barret. And then this is going to be the best ice resistance break. In the same way that the Seaside Collar is the ideal companion to Cloud and the Murasame, this is the ideal companion to the Edged Wings, which is probably the best piece of DPS equipment for Sephiroth right now. At least elementally. This is the one that you probably already have, Magic Breaker, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend putting it on the wish list. This is very primarily for people who want to play physical Sephiroth, but also an amazing limit break power-up steroid. It does a lot of damage and it does it to everybody. It's a very powerful physical weapon, especially if you're going for something like the Dark Heavens. So it can be a really good combination with that, and especially right now you have single target wind damage and AoE damage. Good physical combo. Also the Northern Lights, which breaks physical attack. That could help keep people safe around your Sephiroth. It could combine really well with high physical defense builds of Sephiroth, which are common. But is again part of a physical Sephiroth build, not so much a magical, which I think is more common for people. Physical defense barrier, not much to write home about. Here's the one I was looking for though, the Shinra Blade Model 1. If you want a real DPS weapon, 940 modifier on non-elemental damage, single target, huge damage. That is going to slap super hard with magical damage. This is big lightning magic damage to all enemies and fire magic damage to all enemies. So the previous weapon though, that could work. Now we have a team that has lightning AoE in Glenn, Aerith, and Sephiroth, all dealing lightning magic damage in an AoE pattern. Quite cool. So, with no further ado, that was everything I know about the wish list so far, why I would love to see it in other games, and I would like to hear what you think. It's your turn to let me know what you think about the wish list system and some of the other ways that this game allows you to get things. Let me know in the comments. Vent. I mean, there's not as big, it seems, of an audience for this, so there's not as many places to talk about this, so let me know how you really feel in the comments. Be sure to hit that link in the description as you're on your way down there. That's gonna say like link.tree./JackieFox, something like that. That actually won't work. Don't listen to what I say. Look at the link in the description. And then like and subscribe while you're in the area. And with all of that, I will see you in the next one.